Greetings, members one and all of the Salivation Nation. The strength of gold is apparent in this latest move from the nation of Poland. Let's explore! In this article coming to us from Kitco News, gold symbolizes strength. The nation of Poland repatriates 100 tons from London. That's right, after boosting its gold reserves for the past 2 years, Poland is bringing its gold back home. In its latest move, Poland repatriated 100 tons of gold from the Bank of England's storage in London to show the strength of the country's economy, said the National Bank of Poland on Monday. The gold symbolizes the strength of the country, Poland's central bank governor Adam Glapiński told reporters. Poland's precious metals will now be stored in the central bank's treasury. Also, the trend of bringing the precious metals back home will continue if the reserve situation is favorable, with at least half of Poland's gold reserves to be stored at home, Glapiński added. So Poland has stepped up its gold buying as it purchased 125 tons during the past 2 years, increasing its reserves to 228.6 tons. This has been an ongoing thing with many other nations around the world. There's others that have done it here recently too, but China, Russia, Turkey, India, other nations. In fact, India has been acquiring a lot of silver. But it's very interesting and fascinating to see. Total gold reserves are now worth around $10.8 billion, with half of the reserves still stored in England, said Glapiński. The country now holds the 22nd spot as the biggest bullion holder in the world, the central bank added. If Poland chose to sell its gold, it would have multi-billion profits, but it does not plan to do so, Glapiński pointed out. The central bank's governor did not rule out more gold purchases in the future. Central banks around the world have been accelerating their gold buying this year, with Serbia being the latest example as it added 9 tons of gold in its reserves in October. And I know I heard hear some talk about that, about Serbia adding, and I think that's just bolsters the notion of how people are at central banks around the world, especially since gold becoming a Tier 1 asset by the Bank of International Settlements. This has been something that has been seen by these other nations to kind of help bolster themselves and protect themselves in case the worst happens. And keep in mind, the whole world's economy really is on a downward trend. I won't say spiral, but there's when you have currencies that the only answer to help stimulate the economy is to print more money and to use injections of cash and Keynesian type of policies, well, you're asking for trouble and asking for potential currency failure, and gold will protect in those certain situations. Serbia followed in the footsteps of other central banks, including Russia, China, Hungary, and Poland. Central bank gold buying helped push total bullion demand to a 3-year high in the first half of 2019. And the World Gold Council, in its second quarter gold demand trends reported back in August and November, the World Gold Council reported that central banks purchased 547 tons of gold on a net basis year to date, which is 12% higher than a year ago. So it is amazing to see how much of this has occurred. And let's actually see what this chart shows here. Global negative debt versus gold prices there. And let's see, I don't think this is going to actually show us a chart here, but it does talk about how this has been increasing here. The current trend shows that demand remains consistent. WGC Director of Investment Research Juan Carlos Artigas told Kitco News in a telephone interview in November, in these particular conditions, gold is well suited to be an integral component of foreign reserves. In these particular conditions, meaning that, number one, gold is recognized by the central bank of central banks as a Tier 1 asset, and the dollar is becoming a little bit less important when these nations hold gold. That's probably just as much, if not a bigger threat in these cases, because that means that other nations around the world are seeing gold for what it is, as true money. And that, I think, is what's helping keep the price somewhat up, even though gold has been falling back a bit. Drivers encouraging central banks to buy more gold include the goal to diversify and de-dollarize in light of the geopolitical risk and trade tensions. Standard Chartered analyst Suki Cooper said during her keynote address at the Gold Forum Americas in September. Increased price of buying has also helped gold find a new floor, Cooper added. With the strength that we've seen in the central bank buying, the floor of the gold market, if we were to see a sell-off, is much closer to $1,450, she said. Now, I did see another blurb headline saying that it could fall back to $1,400, and we're heading towards the end of the year now. And let's actually take a look at the price of gold right now. It is close to that $1,450 level. Now, as we go into the holiday season here, and through the month of December, we do typically see suppressed prices for the precious metals. We also have some economic data that is also positive as well, and the hope for a trade deal, at least a phase one trade deal signed, potentially. We'll see. That is not written in stone or even in paper, and we want to see that, or at least I want to see it before I believe it. We'll see how that plays out. There's a lot of talk on both sides, and one way or the other, and I know that's all part of the negotiating game, but regardless, I think if we do see something signed, we could see gold break through that floor and it could actually go down even further. And but nonetheless, with these banks accumulating more gold at these as the prices go down, that demand is going to increase, and that could drive prices back up again. I think that may be the long-term driver of gold prices here on out, which is why I'm bullish on gold. These central banks buy it up, it's less in the marketplace. And it bolsters and it makes the case for the importance of gold in our portfolios. And I tell you, I am bullish and believe in holding gold. As a silver accumulator, I believe in holding gold as well. No matter what the price is, and I think this is the biggest argument for it, is seeing nations like Poland even repatriating their gold. Now, there's a lesson here. Holding gold in your possession is something to be. There's something to be said for it. Venezuela can attest to that, as they're having trouble getting their gold. Well, because of obvious reasons, I think. But however, some purists may say, well, it's their gold, they should be able to get it back. But knowing what's the human rights violations that are going on in Venezuela, you can understand why they have the case. But there could be other reasons why another central bank, such as the Bank of England's storing gold, may hold on to it. And so if you're a country, you would probably want to have it in your possession. Personally, that is a different matter. There are enough good reasons to store your gold off-site, as I do, as there is to actually hold on to it on-site. And that involves trusting members of your community, friends, family, to hold the gold for you in certain safer locations. Not that mine's not safe, but the thing is you never know. You have to. There's some cases for personal safety. It's okay in some cases to delve and dabble in a little bit of paranoia from time to time to create layers of protection for precious metals. But for these central banks, security is key. And the central bank's treasury of Poland, they obviously feel comfortable enough in the security of that facility to be able to store 100 tons of gold as they repatriate it from London. I think we're going to see more and more of this happen as the years go by, as there's fear about different things in terms of the dollar, the economies of scale, what's going on with the European Union, with Brexit, with Iran, unstable areas of the world in terms of, multiple different factors, from Hong Kong to what's going on in Africa, mining in Africa, geopolitics, and obviously what's happening in American politics, because what happens in America, especially with regards to trade deals, well, certainly does affect the world. So we'll see how it plays out. But very interesting news indeed that gold symbolizing the strength by repatriation of 100 tons of it from London. Fascinating news indeed. So there you have it. Post your thoughts below. Found the story quite fascinating. Let me know what you think. And are you a holder of gold? I want to know from you, those of you out there who are primarily silver stackers or accumulators. Have you considered maybe broadening your diversification into a little bit of gold from time to time? Let me know below. I'd like to extend a multitude of gratitude to you all for watching and encourage you to please rate, share, comment, and subscribe.